How's it going, everyone? Welcome. It is our 2-year anniversary show. I've got my little mini champagne to celebrate, and I've brought along a bunch of friends of the show to help us celebrate, and we're going to have fun tonight. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
Towards the near post, deflect, and it's in. Darwin Jones with the response for Orange County, and it is a massive one. Austin Bold dominant in the last 10.
Forrester in the middle now, gets around a few defenders. Forrester with the outside of right foot. What a strike by Mary Forrester. It's the opening goal for Orange County.
Heads it down, back post, opportunity and a goal! A beautiful goal by Orange County.
This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast or on Facebook at Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, presented by Roughneck Scarves and Icarus FC. We are the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora, and I am with you each and every episode as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club, minus one episode that I missed because I was really sick, but we won't talk about that.
Never let you forget it.
Never let me forget that. That's Alan from San Diego. We're going to go to him first and introduce him. Alan, how's San Diego going?
Good. I think the only reason that there isn't more than one Orange County podcast is Andy hasn't decided to do one. So then we'd have some competition, I think. I think he's taken some notes. He's been on a couple times. He's done a good job. I think he's if you see him writing anything down, be suspicious.
Good news, I'm illiterate.
Be very suspicious of all this. We're going to skip ahead and we're going to welcome, because Alan already did it, Andy from County Line Coalition and the beautiful backdrop as for anyone that's watching live. Andy, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, pretty well. Thank you. Good morning or good evening from the north end of Orange County, for those of you who aren't familiar with the area. No intention of starting my own podcast. You guys mess it up enough for all of us.
Oh, geez, man. Thanks for all that. I'm going to blame this next person I'm going to introduce for a lot of those mess ups. That's Dylan, also from County Line Coalition. Dylan, how are you doing, man?
You know, I'm living it up. I'm really enjoying that we have a massive apologies to the younger listeners and already, but the massive sausage fest that's happening tonight. Thrilling. This is diversity in lower league soccer, isn't it, everyone? Look at us.
It also doesn't help that I totally forgot that we were now at 2 years, and you reminded me like midday, and I had to now go reach out I went out to say, basically just bombarded everyone that I know that's been on our show recently and said, hey, do you want to come join us? And, you invite people to events and you expect maybe about a 75% turnout, but lo and behold, everyone that I invited said, sure, we'll join. So that's why we've got this big party going on today. Let's see. Let's go down this list. Let me welcome back a huge friend of the show. Has been on with us multiple times. Has called some of my EUSL matches. He's up there in Reno, Nevada, and that's Bradley Polanski. I always mess up your name. See, I already butchered your name. How's it going, Bradley?
It's going well. Thank you guys for having me. I believe I was on last year's first episode too, or last year's anniversary episode too. So I'm 100% anniversaries for you guys right now.
There you go. I think when you came on last year, because we initially invited Mr. John Macaluso, but he was busy careering it up. So we brought you on as the replacement, and you've sort of stuck now as the main contributor from up there in Reno. Yeah,
well, I'm harder to get rid of, I guess. So thanks for having me again.
No, we love having you. That's why we've had you come. We've had you come in to call some of our matches for my ESL league. Another person that joined us last anniversary is from the desert out there in Arizona, Phoenix to be exact, and that is Kevin from the PRFC Fan Show. Kevin, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm jonesing for some footy, but hopefully we'll get something going on in the next month or so. And actually, I'm glad to be here. You know, I know Phoenix Rising is kind of the hated group in the Western Conference, but I have a ton of fun with a lot of you guys. And, we banter a lot, but hey, there's nothing but love across the whole Western Conference. I think everything that everybody's here is doing is awesome. I've listened to every single one of you guys at some point, which is very, very cool. So I'm in good company.
And, I was shocked when I looked, and the last show I believe you were on, Kevin, was that last anniversary show. So it's been a while. Yeah, let's go down this list. We got another person that is a huge listener of all things soccer podcasts out there in Texas. That is Harry from San Antonio, the SA Soccer Roundtable, I believe is his show.
Yes, sir.
Harry, how you doing, man?
Doing great. It's, still nighttime here, so don't worry about the AM part yet. But looking forward to tonight's fun conversation and shenanigans. And I guess this is really more of a roast than it is a celebration at this point.
Ooh. Whatever it is, we're going to have fun tonight. That's or if you're listening to this in the morning, daytime, whenever you're listening to this.
But we will not Wang Chung tonight. We will have fun, but not Wang Chung. We got to set some ground rules.
I don't know. I want to see all of y'all Wang Chunging, whatever that means.
If somebody says shenanigans one more time.
Awesome. Awesome quote. If someone could do the next part, that would be even better. Harry, from you, we're going to go down. What interstate would we go down to get to our other host down there in the Rio Grande Valley?
It's not an interstate, my friend.
Okay. It's a back road. A dirt road down to the southern tip of Texas. And we find Jacob down there from down in the valley. Jacob, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, doing well. Looking forward to soccer resuming as well, and us to knock out San Antonio FC again from the playoffs.
Already starting with the low blows here. We're not even like 10 minutes into this episode. By the way, if you didn't know, Jacob was one of our finalists for Guest of the Year last year in our awards. Unfortunately, didn't quite pull it off. Maybe this year. Maybe if he puts on a good show here tonight, he can be one of those and actually win this year. But there's a lot of competition just in this episode. Let's head over to some newer friends. First time joining our show, we've got not one but two members of the Sacktown FC podcast. I'm going to let you guys choose who wants to speak first. That is John and is it Luis, right?
Yeah. I'll let John go since he's older than me. So there you go. I'll let my elders go first.
Age,
ageism, man.
Age and beauty before anything else at this point. How's it going, guys? Pleasure to be with you all tonight. Look forward to a good conversation and actually some roast and talk a little bit about why Sacramento might actually win the league for a change. Hey, Phoenix, how'd that end up last year, Kevin? Come on now. I said that we lost viewers. Look at that. Jeez Louise. I didn't heard Kevin laugh and decided to run away.
Luis,
well,
do you share?
Texas is already fighting for third or fourth place, so I held my tongue that time.
Oh man!
Come on, guys, let's let Luis introduce himself. And do you agree, or do you share John's passion for Sacramento?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean we're gonna be champions this season once the season comes back, so we're excited to lift number two, in just a matter of 6 years, so not too bad. No, congratulations for 2 years. I was telling you off air, like it's definitely not easy to be committed to a podcast for 2 years. So really great to see that, and excited to talk all things soccer, especially USL. Now that we got USL coming back here shortly.
Yes, definitely excited to actually start getting some soccer back, not just video game soccer now, actually some real soccer out on the pitch. Definitely something we're going to talk about. First, I want to just thank each and every one of you for taking some time out this evening to join us. Our guests that come on whenever we have guests on are a big reason why we've been able to go for 2 years, and we're going to keep going and doing this thing. Dylan and I basically started this from day one. Alan jumped on, early last season, and I can honestly say each and every one of you, we definitely consider you guys friends. Whenever we make trips out to any of your stadiums, I know we try and reach out to you guys. I know me personally, I got to be chauffeured around Reno by Bradley up there, which was an awesome experience. And I know Andy, Alan, Dylan, you've met some of these other faces on the road when you've made trips out to different stadiums. So thank you everyone for joining, and all of our listeners. Thanks for jumping on and listening to us. It's because you listen to us why we keep doing this. we don't do this just because we like to talk and record ourselves with 0 listeners. So definitely an awesome thing there. Let's talk about this big thing going on. And this is the announcement from the USL recently that play is going to pretty much hopefully resume. I guess there's the tentative date now of July 11th. I don't know if that has changed since the announcement was made. I don't think there's been any changes, but it's exciting to know that there's going to be some soccer back. A lot's going to depend, I guess, on the state that we're all in and the city ordinances and what's going on. I know speaking before we went live, Harry was mentioning that at San Antonio, they are already approved to have 4,000 people in the stands once the games start resuming. I know for us here in Irvine, I don't know what it's like in Sacramento or in Phoenix. Not quite clear on how that's going to work out for us. So let me get to you first, Harry, because I mentioned your name. How's the feeling in San Antonio with the upcoming return of USL? And are you anticipating packed or a lot of fans coming out, or are you anticipating maybe some restrictions still as far as maybe people not wanting to be in large crowds like that?
I don't think there'll be restrictions, but there's definitely some hesitancy to start off with. Even in my household, I'm the one that's been going out to the grocery store and stuff, so I'm more comfortable going. But taking AJ out, my wife's like, I don't know about that. So I think at the start, it's going to be cautious, and we're still a month away from it, so we'll see kind of what happens in the next 30 days. But people are excited that it's coming back. It'll be interesting to see how many people actually show up to the stadium, because I think just with discussions with the friends on social media and in town here, it's really 50-50 on if fans will make that trek on to the stadium or not. And it comes to a personal decision. It's not saying you're right or wrong on going or not going, but I think it'll SAFC can hold up to 4,000 at 50%, but I'm not expecting it to come in at that amount.
Let me jump down to Jacob, also out there in Texas. Are you guys seeing a similar type situation there where you guys are going to have pretty much fans in the stadium probably once things get going, or are there different restrictions that you guys are facing?
Well, I think it's going to be about the same thing that basically Harry said, kind of, because, well, I get to work in the high school sports area, and so USL not only USL, but UIL, the University Interscholastic League, what the high schools do down here. They were saying for football even, and this is of course later on in August, 25% outdoor. So I believe that's an opportunity, and then 50% indoor too. So that would be for volleyball and stuff. So it's looking more and more like we're going to have some people in the stands, but given how the start of the season for our audience, basically, it was nothing. We had, I think it was like 2,300 in the stands at a 10,000 seat stadium. It was the saddest thing I'd ever seen. Plus, we got blown out against everybody's hated team, even worse than Phoenix Rising, I'd say, Los Dos. So, yeah, it was just, I don't know about how many people will actually attend, but I know for sure they're going to allow some people at least to go into the stadium to watch.
Now, I got to say this. Is Los Dos really that hated of a team? I mean, I know here in Orange County, the only reason we sort of hate them is because they are the Los Angeles-based team with like zero fan base, so I don't really know how much they can be hated. But by all means, if you hate them out there in Texas, go on, hate those people.
Yeah, exactly. Real quick, because we've never beaten them ever. We've only drawn them. Last year was the closest we came twice. We had a late lead, and they scored to tie it in the 90th. It was something stupid like that too. It was just that's why we've hated them from here on.
So Los Dos and RGV are like Phoenix and New Mexico, where they really hate each other and they just keep drawing.
Yeah, I'd say for teams at least.
And we do need to interject that Ray does have some standard for the show, because you see nobody from New Mexico on this pod. So well done, Ray.
You know,
Aw,
hey,
poor New
if they would,
Mexico.
if they would bring a nice like Blake's Burger to my doorstep, I would let them on every episode with some, that green chili and all that wonderfulness. But haven't got that offered yet. So, yeah, you know what? We haven't had anyone other than Chris who sort of doubles as San Diego and New Mexico, right, Alan? Is that his like official title?
Yeah, he also covers Forward Madison too, I believe. He does some coverage of them as well. So he just likes teams with interesting kits, I guess. I don't know.
He's a poster child for Prozac.
It's really he was born in Southern California in the Inland Empire, and a lot of people in the Inland Empire looked more towards San Diego than Orange County because it was easier to get to. And Las Vegas lights. So he was really hyped about a San Diego team, but he lives in New Mexico. And then who doesn't enjoy some Forward Madison or Las Vegas lights, as Dylan put in the comment section, which is quite clever.
Let me go really quick to Andy here because he's like the one lone non-podcast guy. He's literally just a fan when it comes to USL and Orange County Soccer Club. What are you anticipating? Because I know like Orange County, especially being in Irvine, there's a lot more restrictions going on right now. I believe the park is still pretty much closed. The fields, like even where the team would normally train, is not open yet for that type of activity. Of course, that means the stadium is probably not open. Are you anticipating that the stadium is open when play resumes, or are you planning ahead and thinking, where are we going to watch this when it's streaming on ESPN Plus?
Yeah, I'm one of those, hope for the best and plan for the worst types of guys. The way I'm picturing it, I'll be honest, I haven't really looked at what the state has said about outdoor sports, and I presume the county is just going to do whatever the state says. But I bet it's going to be, taking a wild guess and trying to put on my, governor hat, is that they'll say, they'll put a cap on attendance. Like we heard the other guy say, oh, it's 50%, it's 25%. They'll probably have some hard limit like that, but then also say, oh, and by the way, you have to have social distancing. So they'll have, sections of rows taped off, or, whatever it is, just to try to put space around people. What I have heard is that it's harder to get infected with the plague if you're outdoors compared to indoors. But there's also some evidence that suggests singing, yelling, that type of thing makes it spread more easily. But again, that's all just, there's no science behind that right now. It's just based on a couple instances of infection clusters. But yeah, we'll have to see. I'm curious. I think Friday we move into whatever the next phase of quarantine. I don't even know the right word anymore. We move into phase 4, I think, which isn't all clear, but it's kind of like as close to all clear as we can get. So gyms are going to be open, stuff like that, where there's close contact all the time, but there's still restrictions even on those facilities being open. So we'll have to see.
So really quick, just getting back to sort of the beginning of your comment there, are you dropping hints that maybe you are going to be running for governor in 2022, Andy? Putting on that governor hat, right?
Yeah, I don't want to be governor.
Hey, you'd have a vote from Dylan, apparently. He just put on the comments there. Let me jump to you really quick, Dylan, because it depending on how Orange County is able to open up the resume when they resume the season, and what kind of restrictions they have. For those that aren't familiar with Orange County Stadium, it's very open fencing around the stadium. Do you anticipate, if there's either a closed game or restricted access, do you anticipate any kind of problems with people maybe gathering around those open fences, potentially making things worse than what it would be if they actually just open up the stadium and let people in?
I have no idea. We played a friendly against Cruz Azul 2 years ago, and it seemed like it was a closed friendly. And it seems like they did a really good job of not actually enforcing people standing outside the gates and watching. I seem to remember them trying a little bit harder when we played Tijuana last summer. So I have no idea what to expect in this one. I assume Irvine PD, ever the gatekeepers of anything fun happening, would not allow that.
Yeah, Dylan, I think they would just not let you pull into the park. You can't pull in and park your car. There's nowhere to go. You're not walking 2 miles from, Knollwood to get to the game. No, nobody's as dumb as I am to do that.
Yeah, for those of you, again, not familiar with our stadium setup, our stadium is right in the middle of a big, gigantic park, which is almost, I think it was sort of fashioned after Central Park in New York, trying to make that big of a park. And the stadium's like slab dab right in the middle of it. So there's no businesses around that you can like go hang out at. I'm sure many of you are used to going, I know, especially we experienced up in Reno, going to like a bar right across the street from the stadium, parading across the street to the stadium and getting to your seats. That's not happening, at least at the moment. I know there's some development in and around the park with some things which are really cool. But still, it's a difficult situation. Let me go up to the guys up at Sacramento because they've been just sitting quietly here for a little bit. What is the feeling like up there in Sacramento with the potential return of the league? What are fans thinking? And have you heard anything about if the stadium will be open yet?
So we have not heard anything yet in that regards. If I were to guess, I would probably say that we don't see fans this summer, at least, and then maybe in the fall we see maybe 50%, kind of how you guys were saying too. But it all really depends how the situation is in a couple of months too. But yeah, we don't really have anything. The team's actually been kind of quiet recently too. So other than USL coming back, we don't really know too much on, or at least I don't know too much. I don't know if you know a little more, John, but not too much.
If you think about what's happening with education and everything else, teachers are having to wear the salad guards on their face once they come back to school. We're going to have kids wearing masks. I don't see fans coming in the stands. What are you going to do? You're going to stand up and put your hand up, raise your hand to go use the restroom if you have to. Is somebody going to have to walk you right? There's all these ideas and things that could go either way. I think we eventually see fans, whether those are season ticket holders or they give you a certain amount of allocation. Everybody gets a ticket for every other match. I don't know, but we'll see something.
And that's one thing that's going to be hard with the USL opening back up is you have some states like California that are being very cautious, or that have been very cautious with this pandemic, and other states maybe like a Georgia or whatnot that have been just very like, let's just get things going again. Sort of almost like even though we don't know the full implications of it, let's just try it out and let's hope for the best. So it's very difficult. I'm going to go to Kevin out there. Kevin, what's been going on in Phoenix in preparation of this season? Are you anticipating a good group of fans being able to come out to see the matches?
We're in the same boat with everybody else. We don't know. USL sent out their statements, but the club hasn't sent out any statements yet whatsoever. And if you think about it, it's a logistical nightmare for them. How are they going to sell the tickets or allow the tickets to go out? We had a flare up on social media where season ticket holders were saying, well, we should be the priority, and other people were saying, what are we, chopped liver? And there was this back and forth going on. So it's going to be interesting. Personally, I'm still kind of old school with this. We're still social distancing. I'm not convinced yet that going in a stadium full of people is going to be the smartest thing to do. I don't know. So, I don't know. I do know one thing, though. That is, when you look at the German teams, I'm a big, huge Bundesliga fan, and you watch the piped in stuff with the fan sounds and everything and the empty stands. It's just weird. It just freaks me out. I don't like it at all. And related to that, because, we're all on the show together, I'm trying to figure out what the difference would be between not having sound piped in and playing an OC game, and I'm figuring that it's probably the same thing.
It's like playing RGV and RGV, man. It's all the same.
I'm just throwing it out there.
It's going to change, Kevin. It's going to change. And I want to transition, but I don't want to quite transition yet. I want to still talk a little bit about this. I want to mention Andy probably is the most prepared to go to matches once they resume, because he's at the stadium with a bandana across his mouth anyways. I don't know if he's trying to hide the refs from being able to read his lips or what it is, but every time I see Andy, he's wearing that bandana across his face. So Andy, you're ready for it.
Yeah, it keeps me from drinking too much, mostly because you can't get a beer through a bandana. It works perfect.
Straws.
I want to say there was some sort of. I want to say there was some sort of demonstration by someone. there was some sort of demonstration by someone about going to like a Yankees game and how you would like eat a hot dog or drink a beer at the stadium watching the game. So you can't use that as an excuse there, Andy. Opposite side of the table there is you got Dylan, who's like sometimes like shirtless at the stands. I think I can't remember. Maybe Dylan isn't one of the shirtless people, but definitely he's yelling without a bandana covering his mouth.
He's usually one of the best dressed in our whole section.
It's true because he tries to look professional for when he has to go like talk to people afterwards.
But have you ever seen him in the stands forgets to put away his credentials when he's like being a fan and they're just dangling right there? That's always the fun part.
Going after Radchuk with his credentials hanging off his neck.
Why not?
But I mean, let's not forget Alan is the only guy who comes into our section wearing one of those like nice like corduroy sport coats with like the leather patches on the elbows.
Looking like
he looks like Mr. Cotter coming into our section.
That went back to it was I overdressed purposefully so I didn't look like I didn't know what I was. So I wore like a collared shirt with my flamingo shirt with my corduroy jacket. I tried to look as professional as possible because I didn't want someone to go, this is the thing about our soccer team right now. I needed to look somewhat presentable it was like a job interview.
Well, you fooled everybody.
Yeah.
I did, and I still do. It's amazing.
There's Alan out there. He's like, the best soccer matches are those accompanied by a nice Chardonnay.
I prefer Pinot Grigio actually for my nice soccer matches.
Oh, this is already going to a fun conversation. Is Dylan around to be able to like defend himself on any of this? Because
I just wanted to say that if there is no better poster child for my white meat than this guy right here, so me. You just gotta show up and fake it, and they're like, "Yeah, you got it. You're fine. You're a white bearded guy. You'll be great. You'll be great. You'll be fine."
Fake it till you make it.
Right?
Alan actually got a callback for those Nashville scarf pictures.
Oh, they flew me. Nice. I just didn't quite make it. Didn't quite make the final cut.
Got delayed.
It's gotten to that part of the show already, huh? We're just gonna like talk trash on each other. No, but legitimately, I want to give Dylan a chance to talk about what we were talking about him out there if he's available. I know he was having some mic issues. I don't know if he's still there.
I am, and unfortunately, I missed all of it trying to sort out this mic thing. I would like to take a moment to.
You do sound better.
Not working.
You do sound better.
And yeah, so now I have to listen to this week's episode. Everyone that is currently listening, we're in this together. I'm with you. It's a weird place to be, but I hope it was very good trash talking. I'm looking forward to it. So I can angrily text you and Alan tomorrow.
There we go.
Look forward to
it.
I want to say this because I'm looking at our chat here. Edson Ochoa from, I believe he's from down in the valley, right? Jacob, he just wanted to say hi to everyone as we're going here. I know Harry was recommending we get him on the show here eventually because we've always just had Jacob on. He's been hogging all the time on the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. Shame on you, Jacob.
Oh, well, it's Edson's fault. Plus, you don't really want him on this show because he's kind of a curse sometimes. As in every single time that he goes over, and this is pretty true. He goes over to HEB Park. We normally lose the game. And when he's not there because he lives up in Houston, we normally win. That has happened a lot.
So he goes a lot then to HEB Park.
Oh.
Ooh.
It's getting hot in here.
Jacob, is it really just the tip?
I don't know.
It is.
I'm just asking.
Just the tip of Texas, man.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's like, because technically it's in Edinburgh, which is kind of bordered by, it's bordered by McAllen. Then you got Mission. Then you have this other place called Far. No joke.
Mm-hmm.
That is legitimately the name. So yeah, it's there. And then of course you take Edinburgh north, and you're on your way over to Houston,
civilization,
Austin, all those places. Yes.
I will say HEB Park though is an awesome facility to be able to go to and attend a game. So, it's not a baseball park, but the facility that RGV has is pretty good. I wish the seats were a little bit closer to the field, but with the Stampede, I know they're growing. I know with Mr. Patel, RGV, I think probably not this year, but I think in a year or two are going to be in a lot better position. Unfortunately, but I do think RGV is moving in the right direction. So
yeah, there's some with their defense. Yeah.
I haven't been to RGV, but from what I've seen on TV, it looks like kind of a post or pre-Soviet breakup, civilization coming to the Soviet Union type of architecture you got there.
Brutalism is what that's called.
What was that?
It's called brutalism.
Ooh.
No, I'm serious, that's what it's called.
Everyone's Googling right now to make sure Andy's correct.
Look it up.
Says that.
Can we have that on the show?
Yep. That's right.
Welcome to the Orange and Black Social Studies class.
You're welcome.
Well, let's do this.
Let's
Let's have
wives, girlfriends, and same-sex partners later in the week when you drive by a big concrete building. Oh, it's a nice example of brutalism. That'll get you action every time, guys.
And you know what? We're scaring the new guys, the Sacramento guys. They're like, what did we get ourselves into coming onto this show, talking about all this interesting stuff. Let me jump to you guys up at Sacramento, and I'm going to ask each and every one of you. This is just for fun. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds. So John, Luis, pick who wants to do this. Why is your stadium the best stadium in the USL?
We are unique in that we have a lot of beer. I think that's the best thing. Anytime you go to a stadium and you don't run out of beer, it's good. There's good food trucks that pop up. I can't really say why it's the best. It just is. Just the ambiance.
We have the best supporters group in the USL too. Probably the largest supporters group too. So our British Battalion. So shout out to the battalion.
They have enclosed bathrooms and running water.
That is true. We have we have Rave Bear.
We got
Ray Bear's
Ray Bear,
great.
yeah.
He's a great man.
So
you guys have a gravel parking lot with one entrance and one exit? Because that is
some of it's paved.
That's
paved.
That's quality. That's quality, man.
redneck.
In our porta potties, the best you will ever find. Okay,
Kevin, you can tell Kevin's getting a little hurt with some of these comments here. Kevin, we'll give you a chance. Kevin, don't worry about it. We'll give you a chance.
No, I got to ask Luis though. Do you really think the battalion is bigger than the Karens of New Mexico?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we've been around more than
wait,
New
hold
Mexico,
on, hold on. Did you say the Karens of New Mexico?
He did.
Yeah, that's where Karens were invented. That's the
and Luis just jumps in to start answering it like it's a legit like.
He knows what's up.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have a lot of people down there too. Once we join MLS, it's only gonna grow. I know Kevin's probably happy. We talked to more fans from Phoenix, and they're pretty happy that Sacramento's joining MLS because now Phoenix will be able to be number one in USL. Essentially.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know one fan that. Yeah,
number one in what? That's the question. They haven't won anything.
Being the bridesmaid every time.
They do have Diplo. They do have Diplo. So and butterflies. So that there we go.
You guys still have Drogba or not?
No.
Oh.
Field goal master right there. Let me just say this. Very important that you don't run out of beers at the stadium. I don't think Orange County's ever run out of beers, but recently there was a $1. No, let me tell you this. Legit, there was a $1 beer special, like pregame $1 beers. Yeah, they may have copied Phoenix, but whatever. And apparently, like half hour in, they ran out of $1 beers and started charging full price, which is weird. Let me jump over to you, Kevin. Why does Phoenix have the best stadium, even though it's not a real stadium?
Gravel and porta potties, man. I mean, come on.
And $1 beer, right?
Look, no, you know what? Here's the thing. We do have a gravel parking lot, and there's one entrance, and we all know it's hell to get in and out. But when you get in the stadium, it's electric. And we have the kind of stadium that when other players are in the stadium, they're coming to our coaches after games and saying, how can we be a part of this team? It's electric in that stadium. No, you're shaking your head no, but I know for a fact.
It's not because of that. It's because they want the money.
Well, It's
They want that Diplo money. They want that Diplo money.
That's
Man.
what it is.
I think that there's something to be said about the money a little bit, but there is something to be said about the electricity. I'm not downplaying electricity in other stadiums either, because I mean, what we have in the USL is great overall. But for Phoenix, I mean, Ray, you've been there. Dylan, you've been there. Alan, you've been there. I don't know who else has been there. Oh, I thought
I've
you
been
had.
there.
It's an electric stadium. Our fan base is pretty passionate, especially Banditos and Red Fury. We just have a good time. And so for me, footy is all about the game. I don't care about how long it takes me to get in and out of the parking lot. I don't care if I have to pee in a disgusting, horrible sewage trap called a porta potty. I care about what's going on the pitch. And we have a great team. We have a lot of fun. We love to banter with the away teams, and we have some really quality, good, fun times. I think some of you guys have experienced that with fans from away. And it's the love of the sport, man. I played footy back in 1978. I'm old, right? I do this because I love the fans, and I love the sport, and I love the fans of the other teams, and it's just fun. So for me, it's very personal with Phoenix Rising Stadium because that's where the passion is.
So really quick before I move on, raise hands if you were alive back when Kevin was playing footy back in 1978.
Like two of you.
I think only a couple.
I think I was
let me
playing
just-
footy then also.
I see some Polaroid for back then.
I have
the Atari.
Dylan's like, what's
I
a
have an
Polaroid?
Dylan is like, what the
It's like
Polaroid?
Instagram, but with
It's
a
like Instagram,
camera.
but physical.
You actually can hold the picture.
Yeah, I had a Canon with a light meter in the left hand, the Canon in the right hand. That was good stuff.
You took
What were those
pictures
cameras
with
you used to have where the
that
cameras
sounds
used
so
to like
bad,
put like
yeah.
the flash on, and they would only last for like 10 pictures, and you'd have to change the flash. I
Yeah, I'm
remember
not
those.
that. Give me a break.
4, man. A little cube that would turn.
Yeah, I remember those cube things too. Let me go over really quick, and let's try and keep it at 30 seconds just for timing, because I want to talk about more stuff. Let me go to Harry. San Antonio has a pretty nice stadium. Can you make the argument that they have the best stadium in the USL?
Sandbox.
Yeah, the sandbox, but it is played in a quarry, so that that's to be understandable. But
Water
I
park
think what
is
makes Toyota Field awesome is the fans are right on top of the action, and it how it was designed by Mr. Hartman was to be able to expand up. When San Antonio had dreams of MLS that were dashed by Austin. But I think just being so close to the field, like I sat right on the front row, right behind the north end goal, and like I said here, it's you're just right there, and I think that's the best part about Toyota Field is that the field's in deep and the fans are right there. So even if it's not a full stadium, and let's say if you got a 2/3 stadium, it still can be loud and impactful, on the pitch.
Let me go over to you, Jacob. Is there an argument that can be made for RGV and their field?
Oh, easy. Why are we so spread out? And why doesn't it seem like we're on top of the action? Pretty simple. We want to host FIFA matches. We want to host CONCACAF matches, official matches to be exact, as well as not just USL matches. Now, we'll probably never make it to MLS. Thank you, Houston Dynamo, and your stupidity will always be, well, just Houston Dynamo. But yeah, I'm a fan of them, but it doesn't matter. It's dumb. Either way, fantastic stadium. We have working bathrooms. We have working concession stands. Everything couldn't be better. It is orange, and we don't have problems with turf.
Orange is a great color, by the way.
Yeah, we also have a bar right next to the scoreboard, so that's pretty cool too.
Let me give Andy a chance. Can Orange County make an argument for the best stadium in the USL?
Best stadium in the USL. I would hesitate to say best. I would say most intimate, because although it is small, you're right on top of everything. It's easy to get in. It's easy to get out. You have a really great view of the Santa Ana Mountains off behind the north goal, and then we've got the Laguna Hills off to the south goal. When the sun's not beating in your face at sundown, it's beautiful. Most intimate. I won't say best.
Well, we could say too is like before a match, you can take your family out. They can go on a carousel. They can ride up the balloon and see the Irvine Valley. And free parking. Free parking is always a good thing there. Let me go. I don't know if there's a possible way for this argument, but I'm going to give Alan a chance in San Diego. Is there a chance that San Diego could say, hey, we have the best place to watch soccer in the USL?
Because it's in San Diego. I mean, itself, the reason that place is great. Like,
actually fourth best tacos in the world.
World class breweries just down the way. You're like just up from the beach. You're just up from the beach in PB. So if you're like a bro who has tribal tattoos, money. Now we to be fair, it as the grandma because there are a lot of restrictions because it is a college campus. But the team and the university have been really well working really well with the supporters to create. We don't call it a tailgate. We call it a TAIL because Bum is the mascot. Tailgate because it's not a real tailgate, but they hook us up with some pretty cheap beers and really good food. So there's some issues, but there's beer in the stadium, which for a college campus, if you've ever done a college campus, you know how hard that is to get. And it's Stone beer, so it's good beer. And the stadium's pretty nice. It is pretty close. I saw a TFC Xolos match there, and it was very engaging. When there are 1,000 people there and it's packed, it is a very vibrant kind of scene because it's this old, very Catholic kind of feel around it. So it feels very like
judgy.
There's tradition there. Yes, also very judgy. But no, I don't think the facilities. I'm going to take as much time as I want.
Dude, you've had one game, man. That's all you got.
We're undefeated. Undefeated, top of the league.
Really quick, because the next step would be Bradley, but his team plays in a baseball field. Maybe we just skip him. We'll give you a little bit more time.
Reno. Yeah, baseball field in Reno
that you can see from the Silver Legacy parking lot, so I can gamble and watch soccer.
And that, you know what? That's honestly fine because that's probably where I'm going to be if they don't allow fans in. Can you watch your games from a parking garage? No, you guys have that long parking flat at the Cal Expo. I don't want to hear it.
No, I can get on the. You can get on the.
Sacramento and Reno have this like thing. It's like Harry and Jacob here in Texas. Sacramento and Reno is like the hated rivals here. At least. I don't know. My new friends up in Sacramento, would you make us traveling fans drink the most disgusting alcohol ever before a match?
Oh, bastard.
It's an endearing thing that we give only to our friends, not to Sac.
No.
It is rubbing alcohol in a bottle that acts like it's real alcohol. That's all that stuff is.
Take the pain, take the Malort early on, and therefore your team will perform better. That's a philosophy. Don't be weak, Ray.
No.
Slowly back away from the bottle.
We'll say this real quick. When we were playing Louisville for the USL Championship, and that's where it's a rough loss for us. But
how'd that go for you, man?
We had a great time we've lost. I mean, we all know that. But the fans before.
Did you have that spaghetti with like chili?
They gave us some of the best bourbon. I mean, we had top-notch bourbon for hours before the game from their fans, and it was awesome. They were quality. They weren't giving us Milwaukee's best swill beer or something. We were drinking high-quality bourbon, and I got to give them props. It's a hard loss for us, but I was really drunk during the game, so it didn't hurt that bad.
High-quality bourbon in Phoenix would be like the cheap stuff in Louisville, right?
To a degree, yeah, without paying a lot of money. Absolutely.
Really quick, because we're trying to keep this at an hour. I know it's a fun time. We have a lot of people on here, so I don't know if we will quite keep it an hour, but we're going to do our best. I want to move on to something a little bit more serious here really quick. Orange County just recently announced sort of a partnership or plans what they're doing to try and engage more with the community. I'm going to switch over to Dylan really quick because he probably knows a little bit more about what's going on without me having to pull up stuff on here. Dylan, can you just sort of let our listeners know and our guests know what's going on?
Yeah, sure. Our club is being less white. Given that we play in Irvine, which is a very affluent area of Orange County, not the most affluent, but very affluent, very boring, very suburban, very. Did I say boring already? That's the best adjective to describe Irvine. Yeah. the club tends to kind of represent that. They've done a really good job here of finding people who need help in our county, because those people do exist, as hard as Orange County tries to make them not exist. People do need help, and so we've created the club, I should say. We haven't done anything, but the club has created a board to spread community awareness and create a positive impact in our community. It's taken a couple of years, but we poached someone from the Earthquakes whose job it is to basically better our community via the club, and I'm really excited to see it happen, because there's a lot of people in Orange County, specifically there's a lot of brown people in Orange County who don't come to games specifically because there are a lot of cops in between when you get off the freeway and the mile drive into the stadium in Irvine, and they don't want to get pulled over, because you do get a DWB driving while brown in Irvine.
And to be honest, there's been legit, I've seen people on social media have mentioned that's one of the reasons why there's maybe a lower number of Hispanic fans at the matches due to what the atmosphere is like. For anyone that's not familiar with Irvine and with that part of Orange County, yeah, it's not the most diverse area of Orange County, I will say. And so it can be difficult. I'm proud that the club is announcing that they've put together this board of experts or people that are going to try and help grow the club's brand, and try and reach out to some of those communities and try and pull in those fans to try and support. I know a lot of people like to make fun of the fan base at Orange County at their games, but that's been one of the most difficult parts of trying to draw in fans to this team, is getting them to travel to Irvine to watch the matches. Andy, as a huge member, a huge follower of this club, part of County Line Coalition, what are your thoughts on what this announcement means for bringing in fans and growing the club's brand here in Orange County?
Yeah, I think it's great. We have the challenge of geography in our area where, even me, I don't live the furthest away from our stadium. The stadium's kind of, I won't say central Orange County, it's kind of more towards the south edge of our county. And it's still a 20-mile drive for me. And there's a lot of other stuff to do that is easy to say, yeah, I'm not going to go, or gosh, that's all the way down there. So I think it's great that not only is the club reaching out to other communities and trying to get people engaged, but also, through the foundation, raising money for good causes and raising money for kids who just want to play soccer and their parents can't afford it. People don't recognize that is a problem in our area. There are plenty of kids who, play high school ball because that's all they can afford to play, and they get cut just because they're not, they don't have the right connections, they don't have the right skill set, whatever it is. So I think it's great that they're stepping up and filling a gap where there definitely is one.
Perfect. And Alan, as someone that's covered this team for well over a year now, that's living down in San Diego where there's another USL team, what do you think this is going to mean for Orange County as far as just sort of being engaged with the community, helping out the community, building that relationship with the local fans?
I think representation matters. I think when you see people who look like you're more welcome, feel more welcome, and you're able to step in. One thing I heard from Jason Weintraub and Elliot Barr last week, I'm going to plug my podcast, which feels weird, on Fair Weather. They really talked about holding your teams accountable when they're not doing what they say they're going to do. And I applaud Orange County for taking this step. I applaud Orange County for starting to do the right thing. And I think it's really important to look out at your community and make sure that people in your community who are traditionally underrepresented are in your supporters group board of directors. They're in your training rooms. They're on your coaching staff. They're in your front office. And I think that's what really speaks to a lot of what's missing in some of our soccer clubs is we don't have people in those positions who are saying, wait, hold on a second. What about X? because they aren't thinking about that, and they're not necessarily because they're being malicious, but it's because someone isn't there thinking about how this is going to affect everyone. So I really commend Orange County for doing this, because I think it is the team looking at what they haven't done historically well and making some strides to address it. And I would encourage all of us on this podcast to look at what we're doing in our supporters groups, what we're doing as far as holding our teams accountable, to make sure that they represent a larger population of our supporters. Because when those people are there making decisions, then we'll start seeing some diversity in what's going on in our supporters groups and in our teams. And it's really important for people who look like me to do that standing up, because if it's coming from that specific group, people might tune them out. But if you take your opportunities to say, look, I have every soccer coach or every football coach or every basketball coach looks like me, I'm saying we need to get more diversity. It helps with that problem, because now there's more voices from more different angles saying we need to have people being brought in, and not like checking a box. Well, we got that one black guy, we're good to go, guys. Good us. But really trying to make a systematic change, so it's not something you have to think about. It's something that happens naturally.
Takes an educator to have a nice, well-spoken way of explaining some of this stuff. Thank you very much, Alan. I want to open it up to any of our other guests that maybe want to just sort of chime in on this, what their thoughts are on something like this for Orange County, or just in soccer in general, before we move on really quick to sort of start wrapping things up. So go ahead and speak if anyone wants to speak.
I'll say this. I played soccer. I've been with soccer for a long time. And one of the things
78, right? 78.
I've always noticed that diversity is okay on the pitch, but when it moves off the pitch, the diversity ends. And that's always been a problem, and it needs to be resolved. And I've seen some horrible racial things done, actually worse in Europe than in the United States. And that needs to be fixed too. And so kudos to OC for what they're doing. Phoenix Rising is doing some good things. I know other clubs are doing some good things. It all is an individual effort. If we don't change ourselves internally, no matter how good we think we are, or non-racist we think we are, or whatever, we still can make change. And that will influence people around us. And, if we all do that together, change will happen.
There's a reason we love you, Kevin. Even though you're from Phoenix, there's a reason we love you on this podcast.
I'll try to fix that.
Which part, the love or the being from Phoenix?
Oh.
I think in terms of diversity, we have a long way to go, at least in soccer in America. MLS has done a really good job of campaigning their players speaking out against what's happening. The player at Juventus who spoke out wrong, made him look really bad. Bonucci, who came out and said his teammate essentially warranted that behavior from the fans. So we're seeing a lot of different things in society, and now it's starting to rear. Even in Northern California and in Reno, we've seen it with Reno 1868 and Los Unicos, kind of the things that are going back and forth with them. So, there's all these things. There's trials and tribulations. There's errors on everybody's behalf that I think we need to take a deeper look at and correct it. LA Galaxy sat down and said, hey, we're done with this player and his wife. I would love to see USL teams kind of push the same envelope.
I just want to say again, it's super weird to be a podcast of almost entirely white guys being like, oh, we need to be more diverse. And there's not even a woman on this podcast. You're like, oh, yeah, we got to do better.
But if we're open to speak about it, though, too, and I think a lot of podcasts that I've heard, the only podcast that I've listened to that's really spoken up about it was the Cooligans. And Fairweather spoke about it. But this is our opportunity now to speak up and say what's going on. And instead of, suppressing the movement, we do our action. We use our words as a service to others. I think that's important to think about.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing for us, especially those of us that are white, is listening and then speaking, or maybe just listening for this period, because it's really not our fight. We talked about this
it is
last
our
week.
fight, but
Yeah, I mean, it's our fight to listen and support, but it's not our fight to be guiding this, really.
Correct.
But I'm thrilled to see that we're doing something in our community, and beyond growing the business and trying to get Hispanic fans to show up to the games, it's giving disadvantaged youth in Orange County a shot at having what kids from more affluent communities like Irvine and South County cities would have, and that would be great. And one day, if we have more minority managers in this, I think a lot of these issues will be resolved. But that's going to take some time, right? We have down in RGV, I think is the only one.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't remember his name.
Mr. Patel.
Oh, well, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that and Echeverria,
Jerson,
right?
yeah. We have a crazy it's
Tulsa as
different.
well.
It's different culture, basically. Of course, yeah. We're basically, and of course, we've been made fun of this before, but it's also true. We're almost like it's not like we're in the United States. It's almost like we're technically, in Mexico, which, I mean, that's just the way it is. It's where a lot of our, not necessarily fans, but that's where a lot of our ancestors and all of that, we're from. Everybody going across the border, which is perfectly fine. That's how our community runs. Of course, it came out not too long ago that we were having a peaceful protest and a mentally ill person came out and decided to say the N-word and chase them with a chainsaw. No joke, but he got apprehended very quickly and got put in jail very quickly. But other than that, yeah, it's true. It's a diverse place down here, luckily, and thankfully we don't have to worry about that. But of course, just like we said, we still support everybody trying to change.
Yeah, I think everyone really involved in BGN, but I think it was mostly from the Hounds. They did a really good job of going through, and I think we found out almost 40% of the league is made up of non-white players, and I think we have like 1 or 2 minority managers. So there's a lot of work to be done, but I mean, if I could say anything, it's push your clubs to be better. I called out Orange County last week because they came out with a statement that was meaningless and terrible and stupid.
But
And
to me, sorry, Dylan. To me, it's not just the manager role. To me, it's more the front office. It's the league office. I think in order to have change, you've got to have it at the top as well. Obviously the players, very diverse. I think the training staffs, there's a lot of diversity inside of it. Maybe not, the head coach, but I do think that is coming. But I think from the league side is where we need to see more leadership as well. And it's not just a USL issue or MLS issue. It's a sports issue just in general when it comes to that. And I'm not just talking about race, but I'm also talking about gender as well. With with having more women involved and stuff like that. And like I said, I know Alan and our podcast. We have 2 great women that offer a lot, to the podcast. And I know Danielle does a lot with refereeing and stuff like that. And, it was awesome to see one of the matches in Germany where, the center ref was a woman and she's one of the best in the world. And I would love to be able to see, and I know we've got, I think 3 or 4 or 5 different, pro refs that are women as well. But, I'd like to see them a little bit more also, in the middle as well. So, there's a lot of growth that we can do. I think for me, as a white guy, it's about kind of learning, seeing where my role is, what I can do to fit in and change. But I can't be a lead voice on it just because I don't have that experience, unfortunately.
That's some difficult stuff there because like we tried to do last week, Dylan, Alan, and myself, we tried to talk about what's going on, but honestly, none of the 3 of us can sit there and say we know exactly, what's going on, the root of the problem. We can see it, but we can't say we've lived it. With soccer, we love to call it the world's game, right? Well, if it's the world's game, then we need to look at the world and we need to incorporate the world and we need to figure out how to make this truly the world's game. And it's something that I love to see that a lot of people with to go out with their voice and speak about it, like Fairweather Pod did last week. We tried to do last week. Other podcasts that have done that, that's not what they talk about, but it's something that was just sort of important enough that it had to be talked about. It was pretty cool to see. Definitely a lot of work to be done though in this category and this thing, because we definitely want to see. We want to see a world where people are on equal level, right? I mean, it's hard to find the right words to say in some moments. It's difficult, but
we want equality, right? I think that's what
equality is a great thing to say. Yes, right. And props to Dylan, because Dylan was like the person that sort of called out Orange County last week after they came out with their social media saying, we support unity, equality, change. But they were missing some very key words that I think a lot of people were hoping for on that. I don't know if they've gone out onto social media and posted this, but I know they've sent out emails to their followers and their supporters, and they've added some of those keywords that were maybe missing from their social media message, which is a step in the right direction. In my interactions talking with some of the people there at the club, they understood it was a very difficult position to be in, to say certain things, to do certain things, to act certain ways. Maybe when you're, again, you're not living that world here. Unfortunately, here in Orange County, it's hard to say. In Orange County, we're not living that world. It's a very, very small minority that are living that experience, which is, it sucks. So I guess I want to say props to the club for at least listening to what people had to say and maybe trying to correct their message to the fans on that. It takes a really big person to sort of, I guess, admit when they made a mistake and change the tone, change the message that they're trying to say. Yeah, it is what it is. Really quick, because we've already gone over our time here. I want to make sure we stay in time as close as we can. So I'm going to go to each of you really quick. I want to hear legitimately or realistically where you think your club's going to finish at the end of this weird season that we have going on. So I'm going to start off with Harry. Harry, where's San Antonio going to finish the season?
Well, if we go by history, one game out of the playoff spot. But I think with Coach Marcina, I think it's a playoff team. I think it's an upper level. It wouldn't shock me if they finished in the top four. I think they've got a lot of talent. But I guess it depends on what USL comes back. Because, from what I've heard, it's not going to be you're going to be playing the West. It's going to be a lot more regionalized. I think that it's going to be an odd thing. But if it was in a traditional setup here, I would think top four. Realistically, historically, just on how they play, one game out of the playoffs, though.
Jacob, how's RGV going to be at the end of the season?
Yeah, exactly. I think I'll hit up on what Harry had to say because it's so true that we don't know what's going to happen when we go back. My guess would be it's all the Texas teams playing against each other, even, of course, El Paso, even though that is a crazy far.
That's
exactly. It's basically New Mexico. That's how
it's on a different time zone.
Exactly. But, yeah, and then we have those in the Tulsa and Oklahoma City, and then, of course, still St. Louis because I believe they're still in the USL. If it wasn't them, I'd say we'd play New Mexico. But point being, if it was in that setting, I would say midfield and that, which wouldn't even be a playoff team. But in a realistic setting, we're still rebuilding once again. Chuy Enriquez decided not to come back. He went to San Antonio FC, as do all of our players that decide to go to because, well, and we've said it before on the podcast, it's all Houston Dynamo's fault when it comes to that because they try to sign them on a MLS contract and it fails miserably because the clause are stupid and it's about 2 years. And if you don't do well in 2 years, then you're out of the club. So they wanted him back for a third year, but he's like, you're not going to give me any playing time with the main club. Why do I stay? So it was things like that easily. So yeah, I would probably say 11th position in the West, something like that. If not 11th, I forget who makes it. I believe it's like top 8 or something like that. If it's top 8, yeah, 11th.
Top 10.
Top 10, yeah, then 14th, just about 13th, 14th probably would be realistic.
Let me go over to Kevin over there in Phoenix. Are the Butterflies going to distract the Phoenix players enough where they won't make the playoffs?
Of course.
I just say Butterflies because I know your fans hate when I say Butterflies.
Look, we expect to win it. I'm sorry, guys. We expect to win it. Look, we've got the lineup. We've got the right people. The most frustrating thing about this season is that we have, and I'm not trying to be the jerk here, but if you look at per man across our roster, it's one of the strongest, if not the strongest, USL roster that's been around in years. I mean, top to bottom, we have an extremely, and I'm not saying the chemistry isn't there because we haven't been on the pitch yet. So I'm not saying it's 100%. But what I am saying is that, holy shnikes, we've got a great roster, and it would be very difficult and very, very disappointing if we didn't take everything.
I will say this, Kevin. I think the short season hurts Phoenix.
It does.
I think it really hurts because you're going to have all that depth and you're going to have all those mouths to feed, and you're not going to be able to feed them.
Well, here's the thing, though, where it does play to us as a strength is that we've got such a deep bench. We're going to be able to swap out players and keep fresh legs on the field like nobody else. And our second team is going to be a very, very strong team on the pitch as compared to a lot of other teams' first teams, present company excluded, of course. And so
You don't have to include RGV in that. You don't have to include RGV. Come on.
Yeah, we'll probably lose to y'all. It's true. Or if you guys come over to HB Park, if, of course, everything is regular, then y'all might decide to have a 1-0 lead and have your guy get a red card after getting accumulated with 2 yellows and then lose that lead and only come home with 1 point when you should have gotten 3.
That's the beauty of the game right there. That's the beauty of the game. It's you just don't know. And so I'm not going to say it's 100%, but I would say this: if we don't come out of it with a trophy in the end, it would be underachieving this year for the team.
So it's going to be an underachieving season for Phoenix. Alan, let me go over to you down in San Diego with like 2 games in your pocket to really judge your team off of. How are they going to do this season? Sorry, Kevin.
I think it's going to depend, again, on what kind of season it is. I think if it's a heavy game, 2 games a week, San Diego essentially started 9 different players between game 1 and game 2. And there is a ton of depth in San Diego. So if they have to rotate, I think it gives San Diego an advantage, kind of what Kevin was saying. A normal schedule, I put them kind of bottom of the playoff picture. But I think if they cram a bunch of games in, I think they can pick up a couple games against some teams, especially if they catch them when they're not going to be able to start their starters. I think that gives San Diego Loyal an advantage because they did sign a pretty deep team.
I'm going to go to Luis. Luis, how do you realistically feel Sacramento will do this season? I know as a fan you want them to win it all. Do you really think they can win it all, even against a team like Orange County?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if it's a traditional season, I see us, get into 3rd place. Not quite 1st or 2nd, but third place I think is pretty reasonable. If it's a region, I could see us winning the region. Beyond that, I'm not too sure, but I could see us at least taking the region, and that's about how I see it now. But season was too young. We don't really know too much, like you guys were saying too, on the chemistry of the players. So it's too early to really speak. I know we had our first game where we were pretty disappointed that we tied against Tulsa. We didn't want to tie. That was a must win because it's Tulsa, even though they rebranded, but still the same thing. But yeah, so, it's too early to tell, but if it's full season, I could see us clinching like a 3rd spot.
Something good, Bradley. I would assume the region would be there. Reno would be included in that region with Sacramento. So do you really believe Sacramento could finish on top of Reno there?
Not on top of Reno personally, but that's just coming from a biased fan up here in Reno. I'm going to go ahead and echo if it's a normal season where we're playing 1 game a week, I think Reno places for a home playoff game, somewhere in the 3 to 5 region, hopefully playing home playoff games. In a more compressed season where we're playing 2 games a week, Reno lacks that depth that I feel like a lot of you guys are really touting for your own teams. I feel like we're very top heavy. And without that depth, we're going to end up, still making playoffs because any Ian Russell team can make playoffs. Ian Russell can take the, 10 of us, 9 of us, and make a playoff team out of us somehow. But I feel like without that significant depth that we don't have in Reno, we would be fighting in 8th and 7th place at the end of the season in a very compact season.
So Jacob, have your front office reach out to Bradley there and find out how to get that guy over there to RGV to make the playoffs. Let me go over to John really quick because, again, Bradley said, against Sacramento, Reno's probably going to be on top, again, as a fan. But are you going to stick with your man Luis over there and say Sacramento's the better team out of those teams? I'll admit it.
Oh, you're fine. Mustache rides all day. If you take that idea and you take the team, right, we've pretty much brought back the same team from last year. Mark Briggs has done a good job of implementing a pressing system, which you don't see very often hold for the length of the season that they that opportunity to kind of sit back and review how that press went and how their playing was over the course of the 2 games that we got to see in person. I can definitely see Sac Republic having the opportunity to be top 3, if not, number 1 or 2, based off of their experience. They're bringing back players. The only team that has a roster like they do is Phoenix in the Western Conference. So there's a lot of opportunity for them to succeed. But at the same time, with this down period that we've had, your training isn't the same. You spent all offseason getting ready. For every day you've spent in quarantine, that's a day of training you need to be back before you're pitch ready or your game ready. So there's a lot of things that are there. I see them being a top 3 team with the opportunity to slide into number 1. It's just a matter of them being able to execute and how they come back after this time off.
Perfect. And I know you mentioned bringing back, most of the team. Can we talk off the air really quick? Luis, John, can we talk about the Sacramento play-by-play guys? Because I have a little bit of a problem with them. Really quick, I want to get down to Andy really quick. Quick, prediction, Orange County, where are they going to finish this season?
Top 3. Done.
All right, Dylan, what about you?
I can't disagree with that. I was going to go top 4. We're getting a home playoff spot this season.
Definitely don't want to go to Salt Lake City like we had to do last season and do that. We really should have been one of the top 4 teams last season. We had the chance to do so. We dropped it. I want to start wrapping things up here because we're going way past our time, what we normally like to do. We normally like to end with a random thought, but I'm going to sort of skip that for this episode just because doing a random thought with each and every one of you would probably take another 30 minutes. And we definitely don't want to go that long. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to each of you really quick, just share with our listeners if they want to hear more from you, follow you, or listen to your podcast, where they can go for that. I'm going to start with you, Harry. And Harry, you're muted.
Sorry about that. So you can typically follow us at SATX Soccer. We'll post a link. We're on Facebook as well, and Twitter's live streams. Usually on Wednesdays, although right now it's kind of every other week. But I think we're starting to get back in the swing of trying to come back. But I just want to say thank you to Ray and Dylan and Alan. The stuff you guys put out is awesome. Your predictions are horrible, and of course your major homers for OCSD. But like I said, it's been a pleasure listening to you guys for 2 years, and hopefully you have 2 years or more to go and see what the next steps brings.
Perfect. Let me go down to the tip of Texas there with Jacob. Jacob, what you got?
All right, so you can find Down in the Valley podcast on Twitter at Down in the RGV. Very simple, very easy. You can find me on Twitter, Jacob Young 456. And yeah, thank you all for, of course, always letting me go on and rant to you all for pointless things sometimes, but for sure, always a pleasure to be on here and it's always a fun time, and hopefully, of course, I get to see you all soon again, and hopefully we'll get this season back underway, and maybe it'll be regular, and if it's not, well, hopefully we'll still be able to chat about some USL soccer.
Perfect. And then if you head up those dirt roads, get on the I-10 west, you'll eventually make your way out to Phoenix somehow, some way. I'm sure there's other roads you have to take. With Kevin there. Kevin, where can our listeners follow you, listen to you, and all that fun stuff?
So we're the Odd Men Out. We're not a podcast. We're a YouTube channel, PRFC Fan Show. And I'm pretty active on Twitter too. And that's where you can find us.
Perfect. And then you jump on I-8, get down to San Diego. Alan.
Underwood 48 on the Twitter machines.
Perfect. And then I have no idea how to get to Reno from there. You probably just jump on Alaska Airlines to Reno to hop on with the guys up there in Reno and Bradley Polanski. Where can our followers listen to you and follow you?
Yeah, you can find us on SoundCloud, on YouTube if you want to watch our episodes. We haven't posted one in a while, and hopefully we'll remedy that soon. But Reno 1868 Weekly on just about everything.
Perfect. Then travel through Tahoe and all those mountains and all of this. So we get into Sacramento. Sacramento FC podcast. Where do we listen to you and follow you guys?
So you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Sacktown FC is the handle. Twitch, it's Sacktown FC. Facebook, we have 2 pages. You can follow the California Storm and our partners, the nonprofit organization Reboot.Soccer. If you guys are looking to get into some nonprofit stuff, it'd be awesome.
Perfect. And then if you travel down I-5 or Cal State or California Highway 99, you can get back down into Orange County somehow, some way. Dylan.
It's the 99 to the 5, and you can find me at Twitter or on Reddit, OCSC_Dylan.
Perfect. And you can follow me on Twitter at DJ Ray Some More. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast. You can look for us on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. You can also go to our website, OCSCpodcast.com, to listen to any of our previous episodes that'll feature many of these people that you've heard today. And I'm sure in future episodes.
And Andy, where can we find you? You're the smartest one from Orange County.
I forgot about Andy. Oh, damn it.
Oh, wow.
That's right. So yeah, I'm starting up the newest Orange County Soccer Club podcast. It's gonna be called the Black and Orange podcast. It's gonna be great. No, I'm not. I don't have any podcasts. I don't have a website. But hey, I'll give a shout out to Cleats for Future Athletes. They're a local nonprofit that collects lightly used soccer gear and gives it to kids who don't have any so that they can play ball.
Sorry for forgetting about you there, Andy.
I'm used to
it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight, and for all of our listeners that have been listening to us for the last 2 years. If you haven't listened to us for these full 2 years, you can go listen to any of our previous podcasts. Go to our website, OCSCpodcast.com. Also, you can find any of our podcasts, or I don't know if you can find any of them because I haven't been updating them recently, but go to our partner website, our friends at BGN, Beautiful Game Network, to listen to a lot of these podcasts you've heard tonight, and plus many more. Let's see, for Harry, for Jacob, for Kevin, for Bradley, for Luis, for John, for Andy, for Dylan, for Alan. Did I get them all? I think I did. This is Ray. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out.
You have been listening to the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. For the latest Orange County SC news and information, visit our website, OCSCpodcast.com. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com.
Go.
Tired of the same old uniforms and cookie cutter templates from Nike and Adidas? Looking for a unique, completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday league squad, adult, or even pro team? Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit at Icarus.